this community scheme property management and sectional title in particular.
I think you're 100% right. And I think it starts at school level, actually. And if I look back at my schooling, I mean, we used to go to guidance, which wasn't really such great guidance, to be honest. And I remember particularly at one stage, somebody came through and she was a journalist and she spoke to our class. And she looked so weary and tired, and it's almost like she was discouraging all of us to, you know, from becoming journalists. And that has stayed with me until today. And in fact, who knows? If I had chosen another career, I might very well have become a journalist, because that writing interests me and that kind of thing. So it just shows you what an impact somebody has who can go into the schools and discuss things like that. And maybe that's something that we'll look at doing, just to motivate people, not to discourage them. I think that would be
definitely great. No. Look, I think we need to just say that this is not an easy industry. We all know that it's not an easy industry. You're dealing with people, you're dealing with their property. It becomes emotional at times, but it's still a very rewarding industry. And if you have a passion for people, you have the passion for property and for service delivery, this is absolutely the industry to go into, because it's rewarding. It's nice to see. It's nice to even get the emails that says thank you for assisting in, even if it's sorting out a municipal account or getting my roof leak sorted, or assisting us in clearing up the confusion between the owners and the trustees in the community scheme. So yeah, the boundaries are endless.
I agree. And what about those people living in sectional titles? So if we're talking to owners or trustees, I know there are a few chair ladies on today. What would we say to them about feeling bullied or intimidated by that old boys club in sectional title schemes? And you and I know exactly what we're talking about here.
Because we show the old boys club the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't allow yourselves to be bullied. You know, don't allow it. Stand up for what you believe in and believe in yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions. No question asked is stupid. Ask as many questions as you need to, and stick to your guns and your opinions. You have an absolute right to these. So yeah, be firm in what you believe. Don't back down just because you know they're gaining up against you. You've raised your voice. Your voice is strong. Communicate with them. Put out your ideas, your questions to them, and demand the answers that you expect to those questions.
Yeah, and I think something else which was quite practical that I learned at one stage was also giving people the opportunity to rather write down the ideas. So if you're too scared to speak at a meeting or even at a trustees meeting, just to write everything down and read it, because then you know that you lose that anxiety, those anxiety levels.
It's very good advice, Marina.
Yeah.
Very good advice, Marina. And it does help. It calms a person down when you know you've got the documentation with you, because you may get a bit flustered or anxious when you stand up in front of people. And it certainly does help if you keep a few notes, and then you can talk from those notes, and you can relay your message clearly, so it can be understood by all that's supposed to receive the message.
Exactly. Something quite funny that's raised its head in the last while, and it sort of links up to presidential elections. One of our attorneys raised something which said that trustees have often been heard to say that women are too emotional to be trustees. And why I find this pretty funny, and I was giggling to myself this morning, was because I was listening to the statistics that came out from the debate last night between the vice presidential candidates in the American elections. That's Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. And one of the ladies on the program I was watching said she felt that Kamala Harris didn't come across as emotional enough. So it's almost like you can't win. What do you think about women being too emotional as trustees?
Well, the answer is no. I don't think women are too emotional to be trustees. I think women's emotions would assist them in the responsibilities, in fact. I think the argument that women are too emotional is based on some ridiculous historical bias where men are meant to be governed by reason and women by emotion, which, it's absolute nonsense in my view. But I think there've been attempts to prove that this actually on a scientific and medical level, which has since been repeatedly disproven. Indeed, there has been much research to say that reason without emotion can be more violent. But I think women's emotions and their ability to tolerate and empathize, obtained through historically being the caregiver, as I initially said, would be a great assistance to them in this profession. In fact, that they need to be sensitive to their clients, as we are often dealing with clients' main investments and their livelihood.
Yeah, there's that empathy. There's that empathy. There are a lot of strengths, and I think I've found in my career, and also dealing with managing agents, I don't think anybody needs to become aggressive in order to be like a man. Even as an attorney, I've got mainly male partners. I don't think that it's necessary to try to be like a man. I think women have got so many strengths from an intuition and EQ perspective that also assist us. On a personal note, if you were to be the president, because from NAMA it's just one step up, to be the president of the country for a day, what would you do?
I love that question. Well, I would remove all inequalities and treat people simply as people. I think we need to improve education of the medical assistance and stand up against corruption and not pander to party politics. And that is what I would do.